just 10% of Australians want to return to the office at the end of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to a startling new study. Research from PwC shows 3/4 of workers want a combination of office and remote work, while the further 16% they want to work permanently from home, so they say. To discuss this and more, I'm joined from Sydney by the economics editor at The Australian, Adam Creighton, and from Melbourne, the columnist, wonderful columnist at the Herald Sun and Weekly Times, Terry McCrann. Okay, Terry, I want to go to you on this one. On a macro level, if vast swathes of workers never return to the office or only turn up partially once we're through the worst of this pandemic, what will that mean to productivity and the national accounts?
Well, it's a huge question, Peter. I mean, clearly this is one of the great disruptions that come along. We didn't anticipate this. I mean, we were focused entirely on the disruptions from the digital economy. And suddenly we had the pandemic last year, and the approach taken was to engage in lockdowns now, and obviously social distancing and people working from home. There's a big argument to be made whether we should have had the lockdowns in the first place. Once we stopped the virus coming in, did we really need the lockdowns? But having made that switch, we've now coming on out on the other side, and the question is precisely, do we go back to the old ways of working? And clearly, both the challenge and the opportunity there is no, because this, I mean, if we do this badly, it's going to be very negative for productivity. It's going to be very negative for output, because there are clearly benefits in having people working together in an environment, whether it's an office environment or some other environment. But clearly there's an opportunity to be gained that you'll actually get more output, you'll actually get more productivity out of people, better managing their time, both in the office and at home. So I think that the challenge is going to be for businesses and the system to actually make this work and facilitate it as a productivity enhancing possibility.
Adam, it's going to be a challenge getting some people back into the offices, but we know if they don't come back into commercial real estate, there'll be an absolute devaluing of most of our CBDs, and we know the impact on the coffee shops and the restaurants, etc., the cafes. It's already pretty tough and it'll only get worse.
Yeah, certainly that's right. Just to add to Terry's points there, I think there's a real issue too longer term with these white-collar jobs, kind of as to whether they'll be sustainable or not. And I think that workers need to be careful what they wish for when they want to work from home, because there is some chance that some of these jobs, if you're the boss, you'll say, well, why employ an Australian on, $150,000 a year if they never turn up to the office? Why not employ someone in Eastern Europe or somewhere in Asia for a quarter of the price? They can log on to Zoom just like workers can here. So I think it's all very well to talk about the extra productivity benefits of working from home, but I think longer term, workers might see some of their jobs offshored, just like what's happened for many decades with manufacturing work. You might finally see some of those economic forces act on the white-collar professions too.
Terry, in your column today in the Herald Sun, I mean, it's really fashionable to say the really rich in this country don't pay tax or don't pay enough tax. I think that's true for some multinational corporates, but some very big name Australians are paying a bit of tax, aren't they?
Well, exactly, Peter. The two biggest taxpayers in this country, both directly and indirectly, are clearly our two big Pilbara iron ore billionaires, Gina Rinehart and Andrew Forrest. Fortescue in the one case, Andrew Forrest, and Hancock Prospecting in the case of Gina Rinehart. I estimate that this year they'll pay between them something like $2 billion in tax revenues. Now, we keep having to relearn these lessons, Peter. We demonise the rich, we demonise the people that have taken the risks, that have been the entrepreneurs and have created the businesses, created the revenues, created the profits, and out of those profits come the tax revenues, which are going to be even more important, obviously, as we come out of this madness of the last 12 months with these huge budget deficits. And I think we really should celebrate what they do in terms of adding to the prosperity of the country and creating the revenues to pay those things that we want from governments.
All right, Adam, let's talk JobKeeper. The tap's about to be turned off at the end of March. Some 380,000 Victorians, though, are still on the program. Very, very different interstate, but in Victoria, it's a really tough ask still in terms of the economy. What will be the result, do you think, when it's off?
Well, certainly the Treasury Secretary thinks that somewhere between 100,000 and 150,000 jobs will be lost once the tap is turned off next week. That's fairly optimistic. There've been forecasts of 250,000 jobs lost in recent weeks. I'm actually on the optimistic side of this. If you look at New Zealand, what happened there when they turned off their the JobKeeper payment, there was actually no change to the unemployment rate at all. So that suggests that the people who will lose their jobs will fairly quickly find jobs in other businesses, other sectors even. The Treasury Secretary made the point today that just in a normal month, there's 400,000 people, basically coming into the labour force and coming out of the labour force. So it is quite possible that you won't see any change, but certainly we won't know for a few weeks.
Well, Terry McCrann, I'm coming to you on this one. I know you hate waste as much as I do, but Queensland taxpayers could soon be footing the bill for bikies to have their tattoos removed under a pretty controversial plan by the police service up there, exit program they call it, for former members of violent motorcycle gangs. These gang-affiliated tattoos to be taken off, paid for by the taxpayer, at a cost of around $1,000 a pop. Does that mean you'll get some taxpayer cash for that big Hells Angels tattoo on your back, Terry McCrann?
Peter, I'm a bit concerned here. Am I allowed to comment on tattoos when I don't have a tattoo? Can you only really talk about tattoos? I think this is probably performed me a social good, Peter, because any removal of any tattoo, I have to give an absolute tick to. And I think in terms of the bikies, considering the number of tattoos they do have to go through some physical pain in having that tattoo removed. So I think there's a bit of an upside in this process. But yes, once again we see the taxpayer being asked to foot the bill for behaviour which should never have occurred in the first place.
I bet you Adam Crichton's frothing at the mouth because he hates that sort of spending. Adam, we've got to farewell you too. You'll head off to the United States soon as the Australian's foreign correspondent in the US. We wish you well. Thank you for your 3 or so years on the program, and I'm absolutely looking forward to talking to you stateside once you get settled.
Let me add my best wishes to Adam, Peter.
Thanks, Terry.
Yeah, it's terrific, isn't it? Well done to you, Adam.